Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the situation report or the summary for the day of 961 for the 11th of October. And I forgot to change the title. Give me a second. SITREP. Okay, SITREP. I don't think I need to write the summary also. Okay, so the report is slightly later than I usually want where I wanted, because I was having my weekly burnout sleep. So I sleep way longer than I need, or I would usually sleep, because I'm really tired, every week. Anyway, so as my body reset, I'm now fresh to talk to you about Kursk front, and then the Kursk front, the collapse continues. As mentioned in the previous situation report, we have new updates as per mentioned in the frontline changes report. Russian forces in the Grushkovo sector have negated almost everything of what the Ukrainians have gained. With Russian forces, according to the Russian information, so this is not verified yet, has pushed the Ukrainians down to only Novi Put. The Ukrainian forces are now only at Novi Put within the Russian border, and maybe this part of the territory, this part of the land, this area here, because the front line, the border is a bit unclear because I draw a very straight line here. This is the border. So let me draw out the border. So this is the border. So Ukrainians are only having a very small salient, and the Russian forces have taken almost everything back, including Medvedze. So according to Ryba, the pro-Russian source has declared that the Medvedze has been recaptured by the Russian forces, and this also includes Veseloye, Pokrovsk, and I believe Obod as well. So all these places are all now under Russian control, and the Ukrainians are looking at the final phase of the failure of their Glushkovo offensive. And essentially, strategically, Glushkovo offensive has lost its purpose, because originally there was supposed to be, I believe, there's supposed to be an offensive heading towards Glushkovo to capture Glushkovo, and it should be coming from multiple directions. And then the Ukrainians were previously very close. They were only here so that it was a massive pincer that will allow them to capture a huge amount of ground. But they keep delaying this operation. They keep delaying until the point where they lost the initiative. And then the Russians went into a major counteroffensive over on the western flank. And the Ukrainians now then suddenly they decided to go for Glushkovo immediately, as soon as possible, to distract the Russian forces, to react to the Glushkovo offensive, so that they can actually push the Russians back, or at least stop the offensive over on the western flank. This operation failed. Entirely has failed. It didn't work at all, not a little bit. So as a result, now this offensive has lost its purpose, with the Russian forces gaining further and further away. And just to show how far it was, Ukrainian lines was previously like this. This was previously the Ukrainian lines, and this push would have made sense. Now it makes no sense, because the Russian lines have already moved way further in the western flank, and this offensive has lost its purpose. There's no more. It would never ever reach its strategic objective anymore. So a Ukrainian withdrawal or abandonment of this mission is predictable. So over at the western flank, as we mentioned just now, Russian forces continue to make advances, and in the latest information that we have, the Russian forces allegedly have taken Zelenishek and also Nizhny Klint, and this advance will mean that there is a pincer that is oncoming, with Ukrainian forces still have not abandoned Lyubimovka. They are still trying to counterattack Lyubimovka and holding position at Tostilok. So this is the current situation around here. The Russians are pushing at Lyubimovka and Tostilok. Information is coming from the Russian Defense Ministry. They are pushing, and they are going to hit the Ukrainians in that way. Ukrainians still have positions over at Nikolaevo, Darino, and possibly Darino, with the Russians reportedly attacking at Darino region, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So this is the current strategic situation or tactical situation in this region. The Lyubimovka and Tostilok is definitely game over right now. I don't think the Ukrainians are going to hold. They will have to retreat. But the retreat route is basically cut off. There is no more retreat route. If you look at the actual mapping, you can see that there is actually a water body, and Nizhny Clint is already allegedly captured by the Russian forces, and the Russians have also taken Zeleny Shaik. So which means that the retreat route is only this window, which is merely 1 kilometer, and which means that the Russians could just easily push and deny the road, and the Ukrainian forces here is essentially encircled. So we can even declare that the current situation, this is already an operational encirclement for the Ukrainian forces at Lyubimovka. So whether the Ukrainians can break out, that will remains to be seen. Over in the northern flank, the Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking over at Kremyanoe, Novoya Sorskina, and over at Malaya Loknia. Information is coming from the Russian Defense Ministry. The Russian Defense Ministry is reporting the Ukrainian counterattacks, and this is probably in reaction of the Russian advances in this area here. The Russians are particularly pushing down towards Novaya Sorokina from the Kamyshevka direction. Previously, the Ukrainians were attacking at Kamyshevka, but it looks like this counterattack has already failed, and the lines have fallen southward or fallen down. Russian Defense Ministry previously declared the capture of Novaya Sorokina, so but we cannot objectively confirm this just yet. And for those that are wondering what is the orange, this is rumors. It's from a source that we have already dropped back to secondary. So this is now currently just for reference purposes. So and there is geolocation of drone strikes or artillery strike at Ruskoye Parashnoye, not very important. And so you can see that the Russian main push is like this. This is the main push, and this is of course a bigger pincer. So we shall see how this continue to develop. Over in the Sudja region, there is a lot of shelling and drone strikes. Not very important, just showing you that there's some actions. Russian forces are now pushing up north. So in this eastern flank, the Russian forces are now pushing up this railway line along the area of Ruskaya Konopelka. So the Russians are pushing up, and they are going to counterattack towards Merne. And this is currently ongoing, and fighting is seemingly reaching Cherkaskoye Konopelka as well. So things are moving in this direction. So there's one big arrow movement here. This is something new, a new development. Information is coming from the pro-Russian source Ryba, and for the it's actually pronounced as Riba. I just prefer to call them Ryba. So, and over in the southern flank, Russian forces, according to Russian sources, allegedly have created a northern flanking movement reaching all the way to the Svel River, and the Russians are now basically on a mission to basically encircle the Ukrainian forces that's defending over at Pokrovsk. So the situation is getting really bad, and let's see how this continue to develop. And that's all from the Kursk front or the Kursk front. Over in the Kharkiv front, it went really quiet. The only fighting was reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry of Russian attack over in the Taikei region, which is over here. But otherwise, there is no reports about this. The Russian Defense Ministry didn't do a daily report. They only do the dailies for the Kursk. They didn't do a daily for the Ukraine war in general, because it is Friday yesterday, and every Friday they do a weekly sum up. As a result, we don't have information to really report. But that's basically it. Over in the Kupiansk front, Russian forces are continue their fight towards Kupiansk, with fighting reported at Sinkivka, Petropavlivka, and Kusherivka. There's also fighting reported at Stepova, Novoselivka. Some geolocation of artillery airstrikes. These are airstrikes and missile strikes over in the region of Kupiansk. Over in the south of Stepova, Novoselivka, some major frontline changes. This is pretty new. This is from Surya maps. The map that the Russian forces have made progress in the southwest of Khyslivka. There's previously there was also geolocation of Ukrainian attack, invalidating their own map claims, because they are attacking a ground that they thought that it was mapped as under Ukrainian control, so it was actually under Russian control. So there's some changes around here. The Russians are now making pushes due to the weakened lines. Because you can probably imagine that if the Russians are making major pushes around here, Ukrainian attention is going to be protecting Kupiansk first. This will be a priority, and which means that all the other front line is going to be weakened as a result of this priority, and then the Russians can now push. So this is the current situation in this area. Over in the Pischane front, at the Pischane front, of course, this is already mentioned. Russian forces are attacking Novo-Osinove, Kolesnikivka, Krylyakivka. In the region of Pischane, I'm not sure if this is related to the north or is fighting in the south. It was not mentioned in detail, and fighting is reported towards Lozova. So this is ongoing. No much updates or details regarding this. Moving into the further south, there is fighting reported at Vishneve, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. No much information about this. Vishneve was previously declared as captured by the Russian Defense Ministry. So on the 1st of October. Moving further south into the southern flank of the Svetove front, Russian forces are attacking Kurakhove, Makievka, Katerinivka, Nevsky, and Novosadove. So there is all these actions that are pushing all over the place. I think it's more about the securing of the Zerabets River, which there is a river around here. I'm not sure if you can see it. The river is here. This is the river. So it's all about securing the river and overcoming the high ground. And then the Russians can actually build a new better defense line, probably along the Luhansk Oblast border. So that's probably here. Yeah, so that's the situation around this area. Moving into the Crimea front. This is Crimea. At the Crimea front, Russian forces are attacking Terny, Bilohorivka, Zarishny, and that's about it. Not much other information about this area. And we go into the Sivers front. There is no updates regarding Sivers front, with only a mere geolocation of artillery shelling at Fedorivka. Otherwise, this front has went quiet. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that there is no offensive actions from the Russians in the Sivers front. We move into the northern part of the Bakhmut front. At the northern part of Bakhmut front, there is some geolocation of Russian strikes, artillery strikes in this region. Shelling at Bodarne as well as the Nikiforivka. Russian forces are pushing at Kalinina and Chasivya. I think these are just pressure. I don't think these are proper offensives. Over in the southern flank, the fighting is only over at Ivaniske and Stuposhki. So that's about it. There is a geolocation of drone strike on Ukrainian vehicle south of Chasivya. So not important. We move into the New-York front. At the New-York front, the fighting is mainly over in the northern half. So we zoom in this area. Russian forces are fighting in Torex, Skibinivka, Leonidivka, Nelipivka, as well as in the New York region. In particular, there is some frontline changes. These are latest information coming from Surya Maps and Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. So Russian forces, according to the Surya Maps, have mapped that the Russians have actually secured the more grounds north of Nelipivka along the railway line. And this actually secures the northwestern part of Nelipivka and the eastern part of Leonidivka. According to the Ukrainian mapping, Russian forces have advanced west of New York, capturing major fortifications and tree lines, and are moving towards Sukabalka, which is actually over here. So this is the current developments around this area. These are all the latest information. There is a lot of fortifications, of course, in this area, so it's going to take some time for the Russians to really push out in this area here. So, but we shall see how these continue to develop, because fortifications in today's Ukraine war are largely useless due to the immense firepower that the Russians can now throw at the Ukrainians. And majority of this firepower are designed to destroy fortifications. So it's rather ridiculous. So we shall see how this goes. Over in the northern flank of the Pokrovsk front, Russian forces are fighting in the region of Novo-Oleksandrivka and Mariulyubivka. Ukrainian mapping have disclaimed part of the claims previously and now aligned with the Russian mapping over in the Novo-Oleksandrivka. Not exactly important because we have already mapped this as Russian control on the Russian mapping previously. Over in the New Okrodivka sector, So the Russian forces are now fighting towards Minograd. The Russian forces have secured uh, the western part of Krasnaya and Krutya, as well as the northern part of Novokhorodivka. These are latest mapping. Information is coming from the Ukrainian mapping, and the Russians are attacking Lysivka. Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking in this northwestern part of Novokhorodivka, probably trying to slow down the expansion of the Russian control in this area here. So if I zoom in, you probably see the extent. The Russian forces have captured major fortifications along, as well as the tree line, which means that the Ukrainians are unable to hold this line around here. The Russians are also expanding control along the railway lines, where it's split into two. So one going to, I believe this is a railway line, right? Yeah. So one going to Minograd, another one going to Pokrovsk. So this is the current advance. Ukrainians are counter-attacking to prevent the expansion of these Russian control grounds, but I don't think it's going to work very well. So this is the current development in the Khodivka direction. In the Selidove region, Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking over in the eastern part of Selidove. Russians are generally attacking Selidove, but we do not know exact details about the attack. Most likely, they are just still shaping the front line to know something that they feel comfortable to launch attack on Selidove. I don't think they are inside Selidove just yet. So over in the Khernik region. So Khernik region is getting very calamitous. Russian forces are fighting at Sukharine, Novoselidivka, Izmailivka, Khernik, Zelene Druhi, Zoriane, and there's a high chance that the Russians have already closed down because of the fighting at Zoriane. So this area here is probably already under Russian control. It's impossible for the Ukrainians to hold this position, and the fighting is reported at Kurakhove. And you can see it's basically everywhere. The Ukrainian lines are going to struggle, and it's probably untenable. I would say that the Russians should focus on this sector and going towards the river or the water body over here, forcing a Ukrainian withdrawal. This probably is the most efficient way, I guess. But let's see how the Russians will progress in this area here. Over in the Kurakhove sector, so I already mentioned the Russians are attacking Kurakhivka. The Russians have conquered Ostrivsky. So this is confirmed now. This is based on mapping as well as geolocation. Because of the geolocation, it's confirmed that Ostrivsky is under Russian control. The Russians are now pushing towards Kurakhove, and the fighting is reported at the Maximilianivka region. So this is getting really, really problematic for the Ukrainians. So there is also FPV drone strike on Ukrainian vehicle north, just off Berezky. So this is getting very bad. This is a tactical HQ of the Ukrainians. The Russians getting so close will probably disrupt the command and control. I would believe that they have already moved the command post further away, but a fall of Kurakhove will just collapse the front line, I believe, because this is from Kurakhove, the Russians can just go towards Uspenivka and ignoring this entire chain of settlements, and that would be sufficient to collapse the entire front line around here. This entire front line will just collapse. So it will just be a bigger version of the Nevelsky salient. This Nevelsky salient would this happened, right? There's not much fighting around this salient. The same thing is going to happen here if the Russians push this way, and the entire salient will just be developed, and the Ukrainians will not defend that. So over in this Vodyane Konstantinivka region, the Russian forces are also having a lot of actions around here. Fighting is reported at Konstantinivka, Antonivka, Katerinivka, Vodyane region, and towards Bohov-Yevlenka. There is a bridge that was destroyed over in Yelizavivka, probably to prevent Ukrainian troop movement easily in this area here. But there's a lot of bridges, I believe, so I don't think it matters that much. There's quite a number of bridges. You can see there's a lot of bridges. So they just destroyed this one. So this one probably allows the Ukrainians to go directly towards Katerinivka for reinforcement. So they just have to detour for now. Not particularly very important per se. Over in the Velika Novosilka sector, Russian forces are fighting in the region of Zolotan Neva towards Novoyukrenka, Rivnopil, and Novodarivka. So these are pretty random, so I don't think there's there's anything major happening around here yet. I think the focus will be elsewhere, although the fighting around this area seems to be intensifying. So if I move further west towards the Huaypole sector, you can see that the fighting around here seems to be concerted. There's fighting reported at Rivnopil, Novodarivka, Levatne, as well as Okhilsky. The information is all coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. This is looking suspiciously like an offensive. It looks really suspicious like an offensive. Previously, Russian forces have control of Zelene Pole, if I didn't remember wrongly, long time ago, because this was where the front line was. Like it was like something like this. So I think the Russians are going to push back to where they used to be. And this looks like an offensive, but we shall continue to monitor. There is already some signs that there are some things starting to brew, but not much information yet. Anyway, this is going to be the first day if this is an offensive in this area, and we shall just continue to wait and see how this goes. Over in the Zaporizhia front, there is no updates of fighting around here. The only one is this one, these two over the Huaypole sector, which is part of this offensive in this area. And we move into the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, there is only fighting reported at the Pridniprovsk direction. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, there is some push in this direction. Otherwise, I don't think there's bombardments as well. There's one geolocation of a Russian airstrike at Kozatsky. But yeah, but that's about it. So anyway, that's it. So this is the summary for the day of 961 for the 11th of October. So press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.